Clearly, it's got to be at a nice little angle there. All right. What is happening, party people? We are live yet again. Welcome, everybody, to the Secure Show. It is your host with the most, Coach Sean Walker. And I am here with another episode of the Secure Show that is simply here to help you build security that lasts beyond marriage, building healthy, happy, and whole relationships with yourself, God, and others. And I'm excited. Oh, don't mind me. Your boy taking his vitamins. Just coming off of a leg day, feeling good, feeling tired, but more importantly, feeling ready for this conversation. Um, if y'all wondering why I'm smelling my grapes, it's because like we had to clean it with some more you know, we had to get some fruit sprays to clean some stuff. Y'all know that stuff going around. I still want to eat my grapes, man, and be satisfied. So anyway, uh again, welcome. What's up, Jamie, over on TikTok? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How you living? Shout out to everybody in the TikTok chat, in the YouTube, Instagram, which is not even gone live yet. If you guys missed yesterday, y'all missed a phenomenal opportunity. Okay. I decided to bless some people that were in the live yesterday, specifically towards the end, because somebody decided to get their testimonial in on time. You know what I'm saying? Somebody decided to take one for the team and turn in a testimonial, and in exchange, the people that were in attendance yesterday got my secure program, the entire program, for free. Oh snap. Oh snap. Like y'all didn't know we was doing it big that way, but we are. And that's the treat you get when you're just here, when you're in the lives, when you attend. And so you're tapping in, you're locked in, and just engaging with us. All right. And this is an incentive that is very much possible when you attend these lives. And so if you missed out on it and you're like, wow, like that would have been nice to be a part of that. We go live every day. All right. Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Central Time. There's sometimes a Saturday stream. All right. There won't be one this weekend, but sometimes there is. All right. But we go live every day at 1 p.m. Central Time. And it is a great opportunity to just connect, have conversation, and be in a safe space. Okay. So, as part of your being your host, I will do more in terms of getting you guys involved and so you guys know when I'm going live, all the things. But I'm just typically trying to stick to the consistent schedule of 1 p.m. Central Time. So if you don't see a post, if you don't see a story post, all right, if you don't see something along those lines that's letting you know, hey, I'm going live, no, I'm going live 1 p.m. Central Time every day. All right. I'm a little late today because I was just getting back from the gym, but we'll make accommodations. Okay. And you want to be here because you never know what you might get, even to the extent of somebody turning in a testimonial and in exchange getting my secure program for free. And if you guys know anything about being in this space with me, I talk a lot about the secure program. I talk extremely high of it, not because it's something I do, but because of the results people are getting while being in it. And it's designed to get you from anxious or avoidant attachment to secure attachment at an identity level. All right. And it's more than tips and tricks. It's more than all these things. Okay. We are really dealing with some new concepts, some perspectives, but more importantly, things that are designed to get you moving forward in a healthy way. All right. So the free week trial is still available. All right. So if you missed yesterday's stream and maybe you didn't get the full program for free, you still are able to participate in having the free 1 week trial, okay, available. And, just to be able to dab your toes in the water and see what you get out of it. Okay. So be sure to DM me with the keyword secure if you are interested in getting involved into that, and we can make some things shake. All right. Who knows what the gift will be today? Who knows? Stick to the end, stay around. All right. And you can definitely be a part of it. The tag that I have on my TikTok is dating in 2026 is different. That might be some more of the conversation we lean into today, but this is specifically a ask me anything Q&A, We're just spending some time with each other, connecting and just processing where you are in all spaces and stages of your life, not just relationally, but in your health and your finances and even your faith, all dimensions in your life. All right. So this is the safest live you might walk into today. So be sure to fill the chat with your questions. Okay. If you're on TikTok, hit the pink and blue silhouette to call up and ask your question. You'll spend a few minutes asking. I'll spend a few minutes answering. Um, there's no bullying. All right. So of course I'm not tolerating it. Neither should you. So if you see anyone who's in here tripping in any comment section across any network, just throw up some eye emojis. All right. And that'll get my attention as I'm scouring these chats for those who come in and come out, and we'll get them up out of here. Okay. Y'all can say what you want to me, but you won't say what you want to my guests. All right. Who are being vulnerable and who are taking up space as they should in a space of safety like this. Okay. Um, I do have in my social media, specifically in my TikTok, if you go to the top of my page, you'll be able to click that link tree and do one of two things. Book your one-on-one call. My books are open. Take advantage of it. Or be able to click the second link and get your free relational diagnostic. All right. So you can take the step to getting to a place of security by first revealing a lot of the things that maybe you are not privy to that are playing a role in the recycled experiences you're having in relationships and the change you want to experience. All right. So if you're interested in contacting me, again, be sure to send me a message with the keyword secure, and we can get some things going as you'll answer some automated messages to get you what you need and next steps moving forward. That's on TikTok, Instagram, and all right, YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Hit the link in the description. There should be something there. If not, check out the replay or the comment section. I should be able to upload that there. Okay. Enough of the talk. Enough of the ranting. Enough of the beginning setups. We already got a question in the TikTok chat. All right. So we want to get to that. And then we'll transition a little bit to a topic. But again, this is a Q&A. So please flood the chat with your questions, everything that you're looking to process and work through in your relationships today. Shout out to Feel XXI in the TikTok chat who says, is it okay if she has a celebrity crush? Um, I mean, what does I guess my response question to that is what does it mean in the event that she does have a celebrity crush, right? Do you have a celebrity crush? And what does it mean? What meaning are we attaching to the perspective of a celebrity crush? I know that there's some talk out there. Again, I'm not going to act so privy to it. I'm just someone, if y'all aren't already aware of it, I'm someone who is just quick to question a lot of things. I throw a lot of questions at you because we just want to get to the heart of what we're really after. Sometimes it's less about celebrity crushes, more about something else. And for a lot of people, depending on the relationship you're in, yeah, celebrity crushes can feel challenging, threatening. It almost signals that maybe in some way, shape, or form, the person you're with settled for you because they couldn't get that. Sometimes it's read into the idea that, hey, if you like this person, right? If this person were to, like, for instance, Chris Brown you wouldn't mind. And so I do think there are some important conversations to have around it, but I do think I would ask, what does a celebrity crush mean to you? What does having a celebrity crush mean to you? And then we could go from there. Um, because I do think we are in a culture today where there are some people, many people, too many people who are willing to do too many frivolous, careless things in the name of being connected to somebody that they've idolized. And they would rather get into the bed. They would rather do all these kind of crazy things with this person live on stage and throw away their entire relationship with somebody that they're building at home. And I think that is asinine and dysfunctional, to say the least. So, yeah, I would dive deeper into that, and just ask some questions surrounding that. What does it mean to you? And maybe we could go from there. Because if it means like, hey, if it has some type of meaning to it for you, then that's where I think we could dig into it. Um, but I don't think celebrity crushes necessarily have to be the ruin the what do I want to say? I don't think celebrity crushes have to be the end all be all to relationships. I do think if push came to shove and this person were to contact you, we won't ever really know for a majority of you anyway. Most people won't ever really experience that. Like a celebrity hitting you up in your DMs, sliding in your DMs, all the stuff. But in the event that that did happen, are you willing to still say no to that person because of the relationship that you're cultivating with someone who knows you, wants you, values you? Okay. A lot of us thirst and fall over people that don't even know your name. They don't even know you from a can of paint. And it's clear that they don't. And so I think there's a world where security is happening and it doesn't even depend on someone having or not having a relationship celebrity crush. And I think that's more so something that we want to look at within ourselves, right? So if this person has a celebrity crush and we're looking at it and going, wow, that makes me feel insecure. We should question that and say why. Why do I feel insecure at the fact that this person has a celebrity crush? What do I believe that says about me in the long run in the event that this person is interested or likes someone who is a celebrity? Me personally, I can't say I don't know if I have a celebrity crush. I mean, there were times for sure going throughout my years of life where I was like, man, shoot, Kelly Rowland, Alicia Keys. I'm like, man, shoot, but it's like I don't know them people. And if they were to show up on my front door and send me a message, it would probably it most likely would be business related because they're asking me to coach them, not because of any interest I have in them, whether they're single, anything like that. And so, no, I'd rather commit to someone who I've been building with and doing life with for sure. So I guess those are some beginning thoughts. But if there's more, let's unpack it. Let's talk about it. On to some more questions here. Shout out to Lethabo. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. In the TikTok chat. Um oh, he says, I love a relationship built on Christ and nothing but him, but I think my man wants to be intimate, which is something that doesn't align with being Christ like. Okay, so when you say intimate, you mean what's up, Derek, man? Y'all please go show some love to Derek, the healing coach, the healing journey coach. Oh my goodness, man. His content. I love this dude. I love his work. I love everything that he is sharing and helping people through. He is a part of the Royal Lamb community. You guys know I'm very, very much connected to uh, Dr. Elijah Frazier, who is the founder of the Royal Lamb community. So y'all please go check him out. That's at royallamb.com. You can check out him and so many other professionals in this space who are just waiting to help you and serve you with all things in relation to your healing. Okay, especially Coach Derek. And so y'all please go check him out, man. I got a lot of love for him. So the we were saying it's not, so when you say intimate, are you suggesting sex or something else? Because when I hear intimacy, I don't just think of sex. I think of there's so many different things that fall under the umbrella of intimacy and it has nothing to do with sex. So are you referring to sex or is there something else? And if that is the case, um, I think, okay, yes. Okay, cool. So I appreciate you clarifying that. So, um, is this more of like you don't know what to do, you don't know what to say, you don't know how to respond, or is there more to it that you're kind of looking for some thoughts on? Fill me in on that. Because there's a way we can go about this and navigating a season like that or just an experience like that. So let me know. Um, and as you're getting that together, uh, yeah, it was something that I love a relationship built on Christ and nothing but Him. But I think, okay, yeah, um, my ex, fearful avoidant is long distance, and I'm gonna be near him this weekend. Should I ask to hang? Your ex, why would you ask to hang? Is my question. That's an ex, Katie. Why would you ask to hang? Do you guys have a friendship? Is there something more happening there, going on there? He hasn't been talking to me. the past couple days, but I won't be near him for a while. Is this a recent relationship, recent breakup? Give me some more context to that so I could be of best service to you. It's been have been questionable lately. Okay. So, how long you guys have been dating, if you don't mind me asking? How long you guys been dating? And maybe it's easier to just bring you up too, because like this sounds like a ongoing conversation. So if you feel comfortable joining. Uh we agreed to be friends. We broke up 2 weeks ago. But I just have a gut feeling we're gonna get together. That's interesting. What gives you the implication of this gut feeling? Um, tell me more about that. Hey, hey. What is your how do I pronounce your name? Or is there any name you like to prefer to go by? Lee? Okay, awesome. Good to meet you, Lee. Um, yeah, so tell me a little bit more about what you're kind of experiencing with this relationship. How long have you guys been dating and what's the struggle and hang up?
So we have been on and off for about 2 years now, and like I said, I have been trying to work on my relationship with God. And at the start of everything I did, disclose that with Him and said to Him, "Yeah, I'm not willing to do certain things," and He also agreed on that. But like lately, the type of posts that He sends me, the type of reposts that He reposts, they're just questionable. So I'm just asking myself if he has he changed his mind or what. Sorry, I'm South African, so I have these slangs that I like to say. So yeah, sorry for that. But yes,
Okay.
that's what's been going on.
Okay. And so when you say that they're questionable, it's like intimate sexual related posts that he's sending or reposting.
Yes,
Okay.
he's like reposting things that are like very sexual.
Okay.
Yeah, which doesn't make sense because he did say Lena himself that he also wants to build a firm and solid relationship with God, but maybe that's not what he wants anymore.
Okay. Yeah. And that's something you're saying he may not want because of the sexual suggestions that are kind of seemingly being made through the posts and everything
Yeah,
else. Okay.
I think so. I'm not sure. It's what I think.
Okay. And so what's your biggest question with this?
Like, I don't want to do anything that would compromise my faith. So my question is, would he be willing to like? How could I even put this? I wouldn't want to do anything that would make me question my faith or my relationship with God. So would he make me what? Would he disturb that?
Okay.
Would his actions or his gestures disturb my relationship with God in any way? Because if he is wanting to do that, then I guess is not the person that I am meant to be with.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, I think the only one who can determine whether or not it would disturb your walk with Christ, the only person that can really determine that is you. And the reason why I say that is because, there's definitely convictions and things that we want to honor and live by, that allows us to, just continue to be where we are in our faith and continue to grow from there, even when it comes to, obviously things like engaging in any kind of sexual intimacy. And we know scripture reminds us that these things are confined into marriage, right? And so we want to honor our bodies and honor each other in that process. Um, and I think the discomfort that you're experiencing here is something to pay attention to. I don't think it's something to overlook or necessarily overthink. Um, one, it's because I think there's a couple things that we can look at this with, right? You know, Well, before I guess I start sharing that, have you asked him like why he's interested in sharing all these things?
I have not asked him.
Okay. And so I think that could also be a beginning step because we can make a lot of assumptions into what it is, and for all we know, it could just be you said you've been on and off again for 2 years, so you relatively know who he is, and you have a good context of it. But if this is also something that is new or different about him and his behaviors, I don't I think one of the best things that you could do is ask directly, like, "Hey, I'm noticing you're sending a lot of these like sexually suggestive videos, clips, TikToks, whatever they are, whether it's jokes, skits, whatever." And you can always just ask out of curiosity, like, "Why are you sending me this?" Um, and be okay with what answer comes your way because I do think sometimes it can be, and this is why I say, let me back up because I don't want to go everywhere. This is why I say asking that question is helpful. One, because it gets him to identify what is his purpose, what is he looking to do, what is he after. This gives you better understanding of how to, okay, is this something that makes sense? Um, is can I communicate to this person like, hey, so like I'm not really interested in that. And more importantly, like, I definitely want to be intentional with my relationship with God and honoring my body and protecting that until marriage. And so I'm just not interested in engaging any of that in this direction. And we can just be as direct about that as possible and let the chips fall where they may. If that means he walks away, he walks away, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's not necessarily so much about trying to figure out, um, will he disrupt it? I think it's more so if he is getting to a place where he's challenging or going against what we value and what means the most to us in our walk with Christ, then we make the decision. We don't allow or wait for him to make the decision. We make the decision. Because that allows us to be more grounded in where we're going and more aligned in what we want and what we're looking for. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
it does make sense.
yeah, I would start there, but then also want you to consider this too, right? Because maybe again, I know there's not a lot of. I won't say there's not a lot. I think there seems to be some progress and some conversations in some directions, but I won't say all. Obviously the conversation centering on sex and hormones and sexual I don't know, sexuality and all those kind of things, right? Like that's a very taboo like conversation for a lot of churches, for a lot of communities. And I definitely want to be a space that is created in support of everything in regards to our walk with Christ, the church, and things like that. But just having those conversations more candidly. And I'm going to be honest, we could look at this a few different ways. One, it could mean that if he is trying to go into a direction where he's like, hey, I'm just like either like, yeah, I'm attracted to you and I wanna test waters and all that kind of stuff. Okay, well, one, we can put our foot down and say no. And the relationship can continue. The relationship can continue and he understands and we're like, hey, no, we're not gonna go into that. It could just be a reflection of his attraction to you. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing because we're human. We have hormones that flow through our body. And we experience all forms of, sexual attraction, horniness, however we want to label that. And that's just a sign that our body works. And God has designed those things in us, yes, for a particular time and season and context, howbeit he has designed that in us. And so it's a reminder that our bodies are working properly. And in the event that like we're not feeling horny or whatever the case, it doesn't mean our body is broken either. It's just, obviously when you have different conversations, sex drives, all that kind of stuff kind of gets into the place. So I won't get into too many of the weeds on that. But I do think it can be a sign that, oh, he's just like really attracted to me. And that doesn't have to be a bad thing. We just have to manage that so we don't give into it. And so we don't give into what temptations may be presented that we feel is challenging to our walk and our growth in Christ. And if that means that, hey, we don't need to be talking past a certain time, we don't need to be hanging out at a certain time, we don't need to be doing all, then that's what we do, right? Because what is more important is that, we do everything unto the Lord. And if we do everything unto the Lord, then that means we want to honor some of the convictions that we carry about certain behaviors, decisions, environments that we might be around. And as we continue to mature, we continue to grow. We might have our some different thoughts on certain things. I'm not necessarily saying that towards sex, of course, but more in other areas. Okay, but where we are right now, this is where our capacity is, and we don't necessarily want to find ourselves going against what we feel convicted about. We want to listen to that, and move in alignment with that. And so it could be a sign that he likes you, he's attracted to you. And I think that can be a positive thing. We just want to redirect it. So it's not something we feel we give permission to step into further. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does 100%.
Yeah.
But at the start of everything, like I said, I did disclose to him that I will not be partaking in these activities. He agreed with me and said, "Okay, it's fine. We cannot do that together. We can just work on our relationship with him, and him be the third person in our relationship." That is what we talked about, and we've been talking about. That's what I'm saying. This thing is only starting now. Like, I'm even surprised what's happening because and I do want to speak to him about it. Net, we do not stay in the same area, so I wanted to speak to him about that in person and not over the phone.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you're saying you would rather speak to him in person on it than over the phone?
yeah. I feel like he sometimes avoids certain conversations. So if I'm with him, he can't avoid it because I'm literally right there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that can work. Maybe you set up a time to talk about some things in person as you guys are hanging out, whatever it is. I mean that can work too. Yeah. I would say regardless, again, if it's something that you're seeing a repetitive thing on, let's have a conversation on it. And let's be intentional about that conversation. And it's more so about, just stating like, hey, I'm noticing, taking curiosity to it. Like I'm noticing this is happening. I'm noticing more of this is being sent. And I just want to know what that is about for you. Like where is that coming from for you? And we'll be able to move forward from there. But again, it's you just being honest about what you're ready for, what you have capacity for, and don't feel like you need to be pressured into that space. It's clear that what is happening now is uncomfortable and it's bothersome, and so we take note of that. And again, if he can't, if he's like, hey, I get it or I understand it, you guys come to an agreement on it, and it's something that he's still doing, and maybe right there is a space where you are being honest and saying, "Hey, like we should stop sending these videos. Like stop sending those things, stop sending all that." And you lay that down, you say that, and then he continues to do it. We kind of know where it stands, at that point. And I think it's okay to let that walk away too. And I mean, that's one aspect of it. And I do agree. There was a comment in here, and I do agree with it. I don't necessarily think it's something you have to have a conversation in person on. Although, again, if it's something you feel more comfortable doing, okay. I mean, it doesn't. It's not really a preference, or what do I want to say? It's not really a right or wrong. It's more so of a preference in how you want to have the conversation. Um, you can most certainly have the conversation over the phone too. But again, if he avoids it, then let that also be an answer too. You know what I mean? Like anybody who is unwilling to just have those honest conversations, regardless of the discomfort that is experienced, I think that is also feedback and information as
Hiding
to,
something.
yeah, like you said, it's hiding something.
No, I'm saying it means something.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I misheard. Yeah, it means something, right? And so it's like, okay, you're uncomfortable having those conversations, and I think that's where you're at. But just know, like, I think that's another layer to understanding. Maybe this isn't the type of relationship we should be cultivating. If we aren't feeling we can have these conversations honestly, and safely with each other, and some people just have to get into a space of learning how to do that. even if that means they have to learn how to do that without you, because maybe you're ready for more in regards to that, the level of maturity and responsibility in those conversations. So, um, I hope that made sense.
It really does. Thank you so so much.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I hope this was helpful. Any other questions?
No, that'll be all. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Absolutely, my pleasure. All right. If you have any others, just stick around, ask them in the chat, and we'll carry on from there. All right. Take it easy.
Thank you.
My pleasure, Lee. Hey, y'all put a one in the chat for Lee. Again, I think there's a infamous passage of text that I was thinking of in that whole conversation. Paul really spends a lot of time talking about, um, not being a stumbling block to one another as brothers and sisters, right? And I think this is the same thing in regards to relationships that you build with other people, even if it's romantically, right? Um, if somebody is mentioning that they don't want something, are not ready for something, or are uncomfortable with something because of how it challenges their walk with Christ, yes, there's a lot of different conversations that could be had, but instead of kind of going through the weeds, let's just honor that. Let's honor that. You know what I mean? Let's honor that. Let's honor each other's convictions. Let's honor that and be sure that we are able to put each other in a safe space to, because of course the most important thing is to honor our relationship with Christ, right? And that also looks like, being respectful of the different decisions that we're making. Um, and also too, like making sure that in doing that we are making these decisions from a place of alignment with what's healthiest. What is healthiest to us, to our relationship, to where I am, to where I'm going. Instead of making it a right or wrong conversation, it's more of, is this a healthy decision? How healthy of a decision is this? How healthy is this to the benefit of the relationship, where I am as an individual or where others are? And I think when we do that, it makes a big difference. And so being direct, asking up front, and I think people, when you are direct and you don't get an answer, or it's avoidant, or they run from the conversation, they ghost you, all the things, that is an answer. And then that answer tells us they're not ready for that conversation. They don't want to have that conversation. And maybe this is another sign that maybe we should move on, depending on what that conversation is. But in regards to this, yeah, we want to be sure that we're making decisions that align with our values across the board and allow each other to feel safe in doing that. Okay. So I hope that made sense. I know that Katie had some other questions here or some follow ups. We agreed to be friends. We broke up 2 weeks ago. But I just have a gut feeling we're going to be together. The day we met, we said we wanted to marry each other. He never felt like a girl. He felt about me. We broke up because he found out something about my past that he felt like he couldn't get past, and he's an overthinker, a big overthinker, and I know he truly loved me. Okay, yeah. So, um, well, I mean, maybe it might be benefit. If you want to come up, Katie, invitation has been sent. Maybe we have an opportunity to unpack it a little bit further. It's okay if you don't. I think, um, well, I guess I don't want to repeat it. So if you're able to come up, come up. If not, it's all good. I can just share it through here. Oh, let's go. What's up, Katie? Appreciate you a ton for showing up. I think I got the gist of what you were saying there. But is there any other like context to the situation that you feel like is helpful to really get to the bottom of this?
Yeah, so I would say that like our whole relationship, like we constantly talked about the future together. Like it wasn't like a light-hearted relationship where we didn't take each other serious. And then also, we were long distance our whole relationship, so like it would like I don't always go down to where he is, like where he lives, and I wouldn't be down there again for any particular reason unless it was to see him, except I'm going on vacation there this next weekend. And also like my goal with like meeting up with him is to just like remind ourselves that like we have fun together and that we love each other, because I feel like the past few weeks our conversations have been like very serious and kind of like down in the dumps, kind of, if that makes sense. And
Say
I
more on
mean,
that. Down in the dumps in what way?
like it's just very serious about like the past and how he feels and how it makes me feel and that kind of stuff.
Okay. so you were saying that in this relationship particularly, there's some things about your past he learned that made him feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. But
Okay.
also, like, it's not like our pasts like aren't similar in like how far we went with other people. Like, it's not like I have a bigger past than he does, if that makes sense. Like, if that was the case, then I would definitely understand. But I think this is more like he's just overthinking. And he said that he was still like even though we broke up, he said he was still working on getting over it. But like now he hasn't been answering my texts, and I think it's just because he needs space. Like I said, he's a fearful avoidant, and he doesn't really like talking about his emotions like when he's experiencing them. Like he needs space to like kind of understand his emotions, and then he comes to me. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, how? What is your age, by the way?
I'm 17 and he's 18,
17 and 18. Okay.
which I know is young, and I know I like it makes me sound like I don't know. I promise.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, I think this is really important. I would give you. So this is going to be some different thoughts. Okay. Um, because um, I think this is going to be very interesting. Um, oh, okay. So I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. I am actually going to. I'm gonna circle back to this. Okay, because this is really tough. Because 17, 18. Like I just try not to touch on those. Um, out of the respect of the work and just to be a safe space with that. I think this could be something that is worth just letting go though. But um, I'm gonna circle back. Okay. And because I really think this is just really young. This is really young, and I definitely don't want to touch too much on it. So I appreciate you though, stepping up. Okay,
Okay.
all right, take it easy. So yeah, I'm gonna circle back around to that because I think there's some bigger things there. And yeah, 17, yeah, that's true. Shouldn't be on live. Too young. That's true. Yeah, yeah, and that's why we went ahead and got it out of there. And I won't touch it. Any other questions? Definitely come up and share some thoughts. Uh, again, hit that pink and blue silhouette to ask your questions. Um, and we can keep it moving. Uh, be sure to check out the top of the page, okay, for your relational diagnostic, okay, also and or booking your one-on-one call, all right, to process and work through these things in regards to your relationships and everything else in between. Okay. Um, I think it's really important too, man. I think the heart of a lot of some of these questions, um, and I do think it's regardless of where you are in life and where you are in age or experience. Um, Sometimes we just want to know if certain things are okay to do. Um, and if we have a place of safety to be able to engage in certain conversations and certain actions. And as I say all the time, I think it's important to reflect on your values and allow your values to be what guides your decisions across the board. Because I think when we make decisions from our values, it's not about being right or wrong; it's about being aligned. Um, and I think it's really important uh, to navigate and move through those things. Um, Dating in 2026 is impossible. Say more, Dash. Why is it impossible? Why is dating in 2026 impossible? Why is dating in 2026 impossible? Where is my I need to send this brother a message. Hold up. Where he at? I know it's here. I know it's here. Okay. Nope. Sorry. We'll send one later. We'll send one later. Yeah, book with me. Book with me. Yes, sir. Absolutely. And I'll throw this in here too, man. If you book one, you'll get another session for free. Everybody that's in here and that has an opportunity to engage and do some healing work. All right. What am I trying to say? Everybody that is ready to invest in their healing work and ready to take a next step, okay, and ready to actually stop living in repeated cycles in your relationships and everything else in between, uh, be sure to click the top of the page to book your session. All right. And if you do, you'll get another session for free, covered on the house. All right. Buy one, get one. That's my deal. See, I told y'all if y'all stick around for these lives, y'all gonna get some benefit. Okay. Yesterday we gave away our secure program entirely for free to very few people who stayed through the entire duration of the live. And so this is going to be something that is really, really dope and really, really an opportunity for you guys to invest in your healing so you can actually move forward and stop staying stuck. Because once you realize, I love one of the recent videos that I heard. Shout out to Dr. Elijah, who is in the building. I appreciate you a ton. I saw your messages too, bro. I appreciate you. The He made a video. He said, "So what are we going to start doing now that we figured out you're the problem?" And I love how genuine that how easy that rested. Because oftentimes, y'all, I really do think that what we're labeling as problems aren't really problems. They're symptoms of a bigger problem, but it has less to do with what you're experiencing externally. In my own words, it has more to do with what these external things are revealing in you internally, and what you feel you are most uncomfortable with. That is challenging your ability to move forward. Okay. And so this is really, really important to be able to engage with in a healthy way. Okay. Relationships serve as mirrors. Your experiences that you have day in and day out serve as mirrors. Okay. And this is really, really important if we really want to experience the health that we say we want. Okay. It's easy to go on social media and talk about how healthy you are, how much healing work you're doing, but it's a whole nother thing to live it. And when you live it, you don't have to say it as loud. You don't have to say it as much. And I think because we live in a culture that just reiterates all of these things, um, it's really sometimes more and more challenging to determine who really is moving in a healthy way. Because everybody knows the language, but not everybody is living it, and it shows. All right. And I want to be somebody who puts you in a position to be able to live it healthily. Okay. To live it cleanly. All right. And to live it in a healthy direction. And so um, it is really, really important that we get into some alignment and agreement in some things because alignment and agreement is what makes a difference. Alignment and agreement is what makes a difference. Um, if you're ever stuck on some decision that you need to make, if you're ever stuck on some kind of direction, all right, you need to take, you always need to come back to your values. Come back to your values. And if you don't know what your values are, take some time writing them out because it literally is the difference between you staying in a unhealthy relationship and finding the relationship that makes the most sense for you. It's the difference between chasing and resting. It's the difference between worrying and having peace. It's the difference. It's the difference because sometimes we fight so hard to experience or cling to things that are outside of what aligns in our values. And we wonder why we're so stressed, anxious filled, and aren't able to relax and get some rest. And so this is what makes a massive difference in the life you want to live, in the relationships you want to have, in the security you want to have. Someone said earlier that dating in 2026 is impossible. If you guys feel the same way, if there's any part of you that feels the same, I want you to do me a favor. I have a series that I recently did that is over on my YouTube channel. And it's called the Dating App Dilemma. Okay, no, this is not just limited to dating apps. However, dating apps seems to be a more prevalent conversation in the dating space today. And you guys want to check all of that out. It's a 16-part series, long conversations. Turn it on as if you were listening to a podcast, because everything else you're listening to isn't even helping you. It's just keeping you in a regurgitated cycle. Whereas if you actually listen to some of that in regards to your dating life and some of the perspectives you carry, you might actually see some progress. and some tangible results in your life. And so you want to be sure to check that out. Because there's a lot of people who believe that dating in 2026 is impossible. And I have a feeling that if you believe dating in 2026 is impossible, it's actually that belief is what is actually making the dating life more hard than it has to be. We're not here to ignore or minimize the dating pool, what it's like, the challenges that are there for many of you who are in different seasons of your life and what it looks like. But a lot of you are feeling as if dating is impossible. And that's what's hurting your dating experiences more than the dating pool you're blaming. And we talk a lot about that in that series. The reason why I have this titled today as dating in 2026 is different. There was a clip that I saw from a comedian that I follow who was making a very important, not a very important, but a very relatable post. And I'm actually going to go find it on my Instagram. All right. Y'all be sure to follow me there as well on that purple app as TikTok would have it for us to engage in. Okay. Oh, I love it. She's making can you give my friend Leanne some advice about her relationship? What are some what's her question? What's happening? What's going on? Maybe I can be of service. So I want to go. Oh man, what was his name? I follow him. Oh, I forgot what his name is. Um, she thinks her boyfriend is cheating on her, and she doesn't know. Uh, she thinks her boyfriend is cheating on her, and she doesn't know. Do you know? Is he cheating? Is he not cheating? What is the verdict? Let me find this guy's name, man. Oh my goodness. Y'all probably have seen him on your timeline before. Um, but I'm trying to get the reason I'm pulling it up is because there's a quote that he shares or like a resource that he shares that basically just said um that at least one uh young adult under the age of 30 lives with their parent. It's something along those lines. And there's a reason why I'm bringing this up. One, because it's relatable. Your boy is 26. I'm building this coaching business, and I live with the parents. Okay, as we're doing this, as we're engaging, as we're stepping out in these waters, helping people heal, and all the things. And so, one, it's very relatable. Two, it's very relatable because of the economy and the status of these things in culture today. How much cheaper it is to be able to stay and live with your parents now. Whereas, again, it's so different today compared to what it was, 10, 20, even 30 years ago, right? Where our parents and their parents were getting houses at our age, right? Like they were getting homes, they were married, starting families. And because of the trajectory of what the financial, um, you know, statuses are today, it's definitely changed. It's definitely changed. And so what we have to realize is that dating is such a different experience today than maybe what it once was. And even though it's a different experience, there are still a lot of common principles and foundations that still apply in order for dating to make sense, in order for dating to be healthy, in order for dating to work. And we have to realize that because of the change of times and environment, economy, and all these things, it's not to say that we abandon principles and values and just force things around, but there are some different conversations that we are forced or more in we're in better and stronger positions to have. Okay. Um, we're in better and stronger positions to have because of what a lot of these things are exposing in us. So I'm trying my best to find this clip here because I want to talk about it a little bit in this live, and of course continue to take you guys' questions. Um, no, I mean like she doesn't know what to do, and he treats her badly. He doesn't even open her door. Um, okay, so you mean she doesn't know what to do? Um, she thinks he's cheating on her. I'm trying to understand the context. She thinks he's cheating on her. She doesn't know what to do. And from your point of view, she's being treated badly. Does she see that she's being treated badly? Um, I think that's an important perspective to carry, or not to a perspective, a question to ask. Um, y'all, I'm gonna find this dude. Oh, you know what? I liked it. See, this is why you just got to remember what you be doing. I liked this post, so I'm gonna just go to my likes. How about that? How about that? I'm gonna just go to my likes and we'll make it work. Okay. So he got this from worldstar.com. Um and the comments are very interesting. I think a lot of people can find it being very relatable, but worldstar.com says nearly half of American adults under 30 are living with a parent. Okay. Per WSJ, I wish I knew what WSJ meaning. I don't know. Wall Street Journal. Okay, my fault, gang. All right. Well, now I know. Now you know. All right. So per Wall Street Journal, nearly half of American adults under 30 are living with a parent. And so the reason why I thought this was so good and so clutch was, man, I'm gonna be honest, and especially in my dating experiences, there was a time where I used to believe like I was not allowed to date or qualified to date because I was living with my parents. Okay. There was a time where I believed that I was not qualified to date or to experience relationships because of my economic financial spacing. And I'm not saying that there aren't things that we need to prioritize in certain seasons, right? So, like, if you really don't have a job and you don't have any source of income, you probably shouldn't be dating, right? That makes sense. But if you are someone who's building, right, and someone who's growing, whether it's your business, obviously you're tangibly growing in various different areas, and it's just slow and coming up. That's a different conversation, right? Because now we're starting to talk about conversations regarding dating and why it's so different in 2026 because of economic status, because of not just economic status, but also, um, I think comparing to where other people once were at our ages and where we are now, a lot different. The status of men and women, the status of jobs, the status of all these things, it definitely shifts the dating experience. And so a lot of people are having challenges in the dating space, not always because there isn't a belief or it kind of culminates to a belief that there's no one out there, but it's not always because there isn't anyone out there, or everybody is just trash and no one's serious. Sometimes that is a coping mechanism, right? To just use and throw out there when in reality, there is a lack of security with where you are. There's a lack of security with where you are in life. And also because of how social media has definitely played a huge role in the dating space and how people feel towards things like the role of men, the role of women, how men and women should be. You hear those kind of clips all the time. um, People having their radical views on what qualifies someone as a masculine man, as a feminine woman. um, Everybody saying I want to say the hard, no, I won't say the hard thing, just the confrontational thing out loud, but a lot of people not coming with results, coming with various different um, changes, steps to actually deal with these things. And so, like, there's a variety of conversations to have on it. But um, who dates in, or I am live on other platforms. Yes, sir. Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. All right. Everything is the same. Coach Sean Walker, for all handles and all um, of that. So who dates in 2026? Plenty of people, man. Plenty of people. Sir, lady, I don't know who you are. Um, Plenty of people date in 2026. Thoughts on college students dating? Again, I think this is something that's very important, right? So I don't think there's anything wrong what with college students dating. Um, I just think it's more about, do are you aware of your capacity? Okay, are you aware of your capacity and what you're able to handle? Again, I'll take it from my experience, but also the experiences of people that I was around at the time and how they differ. For me, when I was in college, I started dating a little bit towards the back end of my college experience. So when I first got there, I wasn't too focused on that. Me personally, I was trying to hoop. I was trying to do all these other kind of things, and I wasn't even intentional about a lot of that stuff. I had just started getting into some spaces, but it was really from a place of fear of missing out. So I was very unintentional, lacking commitment, wasn't serious. I was one of the people that, you know, just wasn't really locked in like that. So coming into the latter half of my experiences in dating, and where I started being intentional, I started caring more, started being serious about looking for commitment. Um, it worked. Okay. Had some dates, had some conversations, had some connections. It never really fostered into anything serious, but I was still out there willing to try and willing to connect. And it was because honestly, man, I was honest about where I was. I wasn't working. I was a full-time student, and I was also in the process of starting to build a lot of the things that I actually have now. And college was the space for me to implement a lot of those things. And so I was still early stages, so I was definitely in my head a lot about what I was able to do. Having a car at the time was a huge bonus for me because it was wrapped around a belief that I was now able to date because before I didn't have a car. I couldn't go places. I didn't come out of high school with my driver's license and all the things. So, from my personal experience, it was challenging to feel like I could go date and I could go do these things. So when I had that stuff, now it gave me permission. And we went through ebbs and flows of all that. But in college, man, it's just more so about being honest about where you are because college is a different unique experience and there's so many different types of people that are coming into college. There are some people who are paying for their books, classes, and working, so they got a lot on their plate um, because they're having to make a living and provide for themselves to get through school. There are some people who are able to go to college and their parents are either partially helping or they're fully paying. Maybe they're on full rides, so they don't gotta come out of pocket for nothing. And then, you have some students who are in there for a long period of time because they gotta go semester by semester, and there are some semesters where they don't have it. And so they gotta withdraw and return back another semester, right? Because they gotta be able to build the finances and all the things. Um, there's just a variety of people, and so it's more so about dating with the awareness of where you are, what you have room for, what you have availability for. And honestly, in a lot of ways, instead of thinking you need everything around you to be perfect, how creative can you get in, you know, dating other people? How creative can you get? Um, because I do think sometimes I know for me, there was a period of time, and I'm saying this, but I'm actively putting this into different spaces and stages for myself and getting creative. There's a lot of times where I thought, man, if I didn't have the money to go to a specific place that I thought would make sense for a date, then a date just can't happen. And because a date just can't happen because I don't have the finances, then that used to reaffirm to me, so I guess I'm not ready to date. And that was all based on what I had in my bank account. If I had it in my bank account, it didn't matter. I was able to go. But it was all based off what I had in my bank account. So now, dating, being intentional in those spaces, active in those spaces, I'm definitely challenged to be creative with what I have. And it's actually a lot more fun. It's something that I wasn't looking for earlier on that I'm looking to now, and it has actually helped me kind of be more on my toes about certain things. And so that's why I say, man, when you look for it in a place of opportunity and abundance, man, you start looking into, okay, how can I be creative? I may not be able to go to a restaurant. I may not be able to take you to your favorite spot. I may not be able to get to certain places as a first date or the first few dates, but how creative can I get with what I have and still create a good time? Because oftentimes, here's something that we have to remember, and it's something I have to remind myself of too, as we're all growing and learning in this. Right? Listen, um, people oftentimes remember you more because of how you made them feel. Like, I think there's a lot of places and experiences that you'll have with people that you care about most where even though you remember the event and you remember the moment, you remember where you were, you remember where y'all went, it was more magical and it was more abundant because of who you were with. Like there's a lot of times where um like I might remember more about a specific event because of where we went, less about like who I was with because I didn't really care too much. I think that says a lot, you know? And so the company you keep, the version of yourself that you choose to show up as that is authentic, honest, fun, engaging, that is what people remember most. And so if it's long distance, if it's local, you know, it makes a difference. And so I think, yeah, college students, man, I listen, I encourage people, um, I think who are, in college, I think it's fair that you could be intentional with dating. That doesn't mean everybody else around you is. And so that is something, there's a lot of different development, man. I was having such a great conversation in my journal yesterday. Because there was a point in my life, y'all, where I was really ashamed at the fact that I had not dated before I had got to college. So I got some experience under me when I got to college, but beforehand, I had never dated. Um, I had never dated because I wasn't allowed to. Okay. Um, and so when I got into the spaces of intentionally dating and all the things, um, I was really grateful that I spent the first 18, 19 years of my life not dating. Because if I were to have experienced those things at such a young age, I don't know I don't know what I would have done. Um, because it was crushing enough to experience the rejections, the ghostings, and all the things that I did when I did it. Um, I couldn't imagine at that time of my life in high school, like engaging in full-time relationships, thinking this person was about to be my everything. Because truth is, most of the time they aren't. Most of the time they aren't. Most of the people that you meet in high school, you gonna forget about within 10 years, unless you got, some legitimate close friendships with some people. And it's interesting because when you're young, you think certain relationships last forever. And one of the biggest pivotal experiences I had from someone I was being mentored by, I am still being mentored by, coached by, man, I was so grateful for these guys. But one of the lessons that I learned early on that stuck to me was that relationships have seasons. And it took a pandemic and all those things for me to realize that. But man, I was such a clingy individual at that time in my life. I was not ready for a romantic relationship. I could not handle a romantic relationship at that time in my life. And so that's why I am not someone that necessarily encourages people who are in high school and all that kind of stuff to date and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't know because you aren't fully developed in certain spaces to be able to handle what comes with that really. You think you're in love, it's really infatuation. You love the fact that somebody else other than your family is giving you attention and it feels good, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's good for you, you know? And so like there's so many different things that there and you may not necessarily hear that perspective from everybody. Um and that's okay. And I have yet I don't really know what I'd do if I had children. And they're asking about can I date and can I do this? I don't know. I don't know. Because I know from my experience, even though I wasn't allowed to date, it didn't help. My parents were more like, just don't do because we said don't do. I was never taught how to actually go through a vetting process to engage with people, have conversations. Okay. What to look for, what to pay attention to. Okay. I was never taught those things. And so because I was never taught those things, stepping into dating when I did was more challenging because I didn't know what to look for. I just kind of bumped my head along the way. So there was some bad that came with it, but everybody did the best they could, And so, um, I guess that's just my mini rant on that. I definitely think college is a good place to start investigating. I think you should ask the question if you are in college and you're dating. Number one, why are you dating? Why do you want to date? What is pushing you to date? Okay. Um, and then two, okay, how how well are you with your ability to regulate your emotions from a place of honesty? How do I measure how good I am to regulate my emotions? Well, when you are angry, what do you do?
When you're sad, what do you do? I'm not talking about what you should do. I'm talking about what do you do? What how do you respond? Okay. Um, this is really important. All right. When you experience disappointment, rejection, all the kind of stuff. Okay. When you're in conflict, you experience a disagreement with a family member because that might be all you have to go off of. A friend, you might have all that. That might be the only thing you have to go off of. Okay, cool. That's still a relationship and that's still feedback. So, how do you respond to that? Okay. Because if you are not able to be honest about where you are, the attachment styles that you are operating in, and how to regulate, yes, dating is going to expose that and you can still learn through that. However, you know, I think you definitely want to get ahead of that to some degree before you just start going crazy. Um, so yeah, and then of course it's not about how much you have of something, it's about what are you able to do with what you have. So when you start looking around with what you have available to you, how creative can you get to create an experience where somebody remembers how you made them feel and made them feel loved, appreciated, cared for, seen, and it doesn't have to relate to you giving up your body. Because sometimes people think that's creativity and it's not. It's everywhere. You can go get that anywhere. um, Creativity causes you to really use your brain and really think about how can I orchestrate some of that stuff. So my mini rant on that. But I think living at home is a great place to start because again, dating in 2026 is different as a part of my TikTok header. Dating in 2026 is different. Okay. If you're looking for somebody who is dating, if you're looking for somebody who is ready to just take care of you and you don't have to worry about paying bills, then you are not dating anybody between the ages of 19 to sometimes 29, maybe 30. Maybe. I would say roughly 28. Okay. You're probably not dating anybody in that range. Very few people you're dating in those ranges, if at all. If you're looking to have all your bills paid and you just, living your best life, going on vacations every month, you're probably not dating somebody in their 20s. You're dating older, okay? And that comes with its stuff too. Cuz then we get into conversations on age gap and all that kind of stuff. And I am not somebody who's in support of a 20-year-old or a 23, 24-year-old dating somebody who's 40. Y'all have nothing in common. Nothing in common. Absolutely nothing. Other like it's kind of tough, and we can go on and on about that. But again, I think if you're somebody who's like, hey, I'm looking for somebody that's more emotionally mature, all the things. Now there's some differing perspectives on that. You might date younger because there are a lot of people who are more emotionally mature at a younger age. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean that's completely everybody. So like I just think depending on what you're looking for, what you need, what you're after is going to also determine who's available to you and how you show up there. So if you're ready to be taken care of and all the things, you might not be dating somebody that's in their 20s, in their in their early 20s. You might not. You might not. Um and I think that's something worth investigating too. And then of course, what plans are people moving in, right? Um what's the vision? What's the direction? Where is somebody going? Oftentimes a lot, especially when women, and we've talked about this before in previous live streams, the psychology of dating between men and women. So most women filter dating through lenses of safety. So a part of safety for a woman when she encounters a guy that she might try to investigate to see is their interest, okay, and a guy vice versa to her, she's interested in a vision in a direction. Where are you going? What do you care about? What are you passionate about? What gets you up? What what wakes you up? Right? That doesn't mean that you have a full business plan and you have a full outline of what things are going to look like in 5 years because life be life and things change. But what is your vision? Where are you going? Where are you going? Right? What are you creating? What are you doing? What are you figuring out? And it's less about having that fully out there and fully furnished and published and now you're bringing in buku money because she's not necessarily paying attention to that exactly. She's paying attention to the direction. And is this a vision that I can see myself being a part of and creating a life that I ultimately want to live? Is this a vision that I can invest into and speak life into that ultimately is going to get us both what we desire in life together? So that makes a difference too. Um, and I think, you know, it is nothing wrong. And I'll say this too, according to that post from, again, Wall Street Journal, there is nothing wrong with living at home. You're talking to somebody who lives at home, currently building a business. And it has probably it's actually been some of the best years of my life because there's so many things that I have learned mentally, emotionally, and I've matured so much spiritually in this environment alone than what I thought I would have had if I moved out when I said I was ready to move out. I had all the timelines. I had all the expectations. I had all the hurrying in me. I had it all. I was ready to move out when I got, finished with college. I had a whole plan that I was going to work, get my $100,000 whatever salary a year, be satisfied. I was just going to smooth coast out because it was all about now. And all that stuff got thrown out the window. I graduated, religion degree. I don't know if y'all can see that back there. Okay. Yep. It's certified. It's real. Okay. It's real. All right. But I graduated with that and I was like, shoot, well, let's go ahead and put this plan into motion. And God laughed all the way through it. And here we are, without getting into too many weeds of the details, here we are. So many plans that I had thrown out, and now we're actually building something, cultivating something I'm excited about, I care for, I love, but more importantly, has been doing so much more work in me than I would ever do for others. And I don't regret it. And so don't feel like you are behind if you're living at home. The only reason you feel you're behind is because you're comparing yourself to people who only show highlights on social media. And to be honest, they are thinking that they thought the peace that you have or that you're building and cultivating in this season was going to happen by way of getting what you want that they have. They thought the peace was going to be in the cars, the house, the money, the job. They got all that and are still miserable. And it's because, and then what's crazy is what you're seeing too, a trend of in today's culture is people have moved out really fast because they were ready to get out of their situation only to turn right back around and move back in with their parents. So you're seeing a lot of people who were once moved out, move back in. I moved out. Okay. I went to college with the same college as my older brother. We shared an apartment together, a townhome together. We were getting money and finances through our scholarships that were helping pay for that space. And then when we graduated and we were done, man, I moved back in. He was working at the time. He's still working. So he got his own stuff. He got himself together, all the things. But man, there's a lot of people who are like, yo, I'm moving out. I found a place. We're able to afford rent. And then boom, the worst stuff happens. And so now they're like, man, I got to move back. And a lot of people are like, man, I don't want to move back because I don't want to have to deal with all that. And it was because I moved out of there because I thought peace was on the other side of that. Now I'm not telling you it ain't gonna be less quiet around the house and around the crib that you have. Um, but I do think it's something that is inviting you to look inward and say, yo, what is this really revealing in me that I feel uncomfortable about that has me not wanting to be at home? And again, not everybody has the same home environment, so I'm not assuming that yours is just peaches and cream. There's a lot of different struggles there, right? So everybody is different. But dating in 2026 is different, and I think a lot of it plays a role because of the living and statuses that we're at as you know, economically, socially, okay? And ain't nothing wrong with being at home, gang. Ain't nothing wrong. And when you're dating and having these kind of contexts, be okay with saying where you are to people because this is going to help you build the muscle of being rejected too. Because there might be some people you really like and you're afraid if I tell them I live at home, they're not going to want me. Share it, bro. Share it, sis. I think it's more so men that feel challenged by that maybe than women, but it could be both. Share that. Hey, I live with my parents, but I'm building something. And I think somebody who's willing to want to build something with you is going to see that and invest into that because of the vision that you're moving with. That's what makes the difference. There's people who are at home and are doing nothing, and then there's people who are at home but are building. And the difference is the decision. The difference is what we're investing into. The difference is the actions, the creativity, doing with what we have and finding the value in where we are. All right. Thinking too much, just live in the moment. I hear you. I hear you. So man, I went on a whole rant. I gotta get food. Yeah, for sure. Umar says, nah, dating this year is effed up, bro. I got cheated 2 times already and rejected like 50 times. So, okay. I mean, listen, so again, I'm not here to like poo poo on nobody's experiences or say one is better than the other, but here's where I'm saying like you're not alone in experiencing that and being cheated on, being rejected. Okay. And this is going to sound probably crazy because you might not hear too many people who ask you this question, but what do you feel like those experiences are exposing in you? And I'm not saying that that means that what happened to you was deserved. No shot. No one deserved to be cheated on. That's crazy. But all of these experiences that other people are doing that we can't control is exposing something in us that we have yet to look inwardly on to say, man, what is this exposing about me or in me? And as somebody who's been rejected and ghosted and all the things, fam, like at some point I started looking inward because I was waiting for other people to just stop doing these things. And guess what I was measuring that by? How much I can perform. Okay. I'm over here questioning what all I got to do. I'm over here questioning how much more I got to do, how much better I got to be for somebody to see me and not reject me, ghost me, all the things. And I learned quickly. I cannot control the behaviors of other people. I can do everything right and still get the answer to this equation on the other end not be favorable. Get error in the calculator. I did it all right. I said it all right. I did the script. I followed it all. And she still said no. That was a waking up moment for me. Not to say, and again, not to attribute the meaning. Well, then all women are trash. Dating is trash. Dating is impossible. And so I'm gonna just go be for the streets and play nonchalant, not care, and not invest in anything committed. I attributed that meaning because we all have the ability to create meaning to the experiences we have based on what we focus on, whether lack or abundance. I just chose abundance. And I was like, fam, this don't mean every woman's going to be like this. And there's something good that's going to come out of this experience. And what it revealed in me from an abundance place was, wow, I was actually not okay with myself. I was quicker to leave who I was in efforts of being connected to other people for the sake of being connected to them. Truth was is that those moments revealed in me that I was not my anxiousness was not okay with somebody being slow to respond to me, because I assumed that if they were slow to respond to me, they didn't care, which means I wasn't enough. And that was some real tough pills to swallow. Me personally, I had to get to a place. A lot of those experiences revealed in me how quick I was to say something was of God, and it wasn't. It was my feelings. That's something like most people who go to church will ever be honest about, unfortunately. Like how quick you were to say something was of God, but in reality it was just something you really wanted and something God never told you was for you, but you put words in his mouth and you cling to it. Like I have so many lessons that I mean, oh my goodness. I actually have a series on my TikTok. It's lessons in singleness. And I fuse some of those dating experiences into them because it says a lot. I have a lot of them I haven't even added to the list. I got to go back. I got so much content on TikTok. It's ridiculous. But it's like, yeah, gang. So the meaning that we get to choose the story and meaning that we attribute to the experience we are having in relationships and dating. And so if we're going to say dating is trash, effed up, and impossible, well, that is ultimately what is actually portraying the actions you're moving with. That is what is controlling it. And only people who want a different outcome and who want to experience healthy relationships are going to listen to that, stay curious about that, and investigate into that. I can't control whether you do or don't. So if you're someone who's just like dating is trash and impossible and that's where you want to be, uh, have at it. But we can't expect different results, the marriage you want, the excitement and joy you want, if you're comfortable sitting in that belief, you know, and some differences in there. Um, okay. I'm missing out on some of this. So Jung says girl breaks up with you, then a few days passed, she wants to come back. What do you think? Well, me personally, if that happened, um, I would need me personally, how I would go about that is I would need some time to think and consider what exactly is there, right? So this is kind of how I walk people through those processes. Because I really do believe what you're going to hear here is a lot different than what you'll hear in mainstream media. I do believe that a heart that is led with abundance is open to a lot of different things. And honestly, those different things are very opposite to what maybe you might hear in mainstream culture. Mainstream culture talks like they only give people one chance, and that one chance is all you get. And if you mess it up, it's over for you, buddy. And I mean, if that's how you want to live your relationships, okay. But I've also seen how there are people who are just simply not ready to let go of something and are willing to continue to try until the try in them goes out. And even though it may go to some lengths, it may go to some extremes, I really do believe like if that is how you want to run your relationships, then run them. But, I think there's consequences to every side. So I think because the heart is full of abundance, I look at that situation and I'm like, well, I'm not necessarily interested in being in an off again, on again relationship. That's just not me, right? Like I'm not going to be 6 months with you on, 8 months with you off, and then we're going to follow back up with a year, and then we're going to go off again. Like on and off again relationships. That's just not me. Okay. If I'm going to say I'm committed to something, I'm going to be committed to it because I'm not a light switch. You're not just going to do me like that. Now, again, does that mean that relationships that have operated like that can't make the distance? No. You're talking to a coach who is literally coaching people who are in relationships like this and have made a decision to go the distance. So it can most certainly work. Reconciliation most certainly is possible. Okay. Um, but I know for me, I have to be honest and say, okay, well, if we just broke up, there's a reason why we broke up. Let's not ignore that. There's a reason why the relationship just ended, regardless of who was in the right, who was in the wrong, or if it was a mutual understanding. There was a reason why this just happened. So sometimes, because I'm just aware of these things, I know that typically if there's a feeling after a breakup, a couple days later, somebody circles back around and says, I don't want to end this and I made a bad decision. Sometimes it's not so much about the fact that you made a wrong decision. Sometimes it's just you're uncomfortable with now what is considered your unknown because of someone that you were experiencing life with at a consistent rate for so long. So you don't necessarily miss this person like you will color code it to be. You miss how they made you feel. You missed the feeling of somebody wanting you, being near you, having to talk to you every day. And so you went a couple days where you weren't getting the text messages at 9:08 a.m. every morning like you were when you were dating them. And you went to bed and you went the whole day without hearing from them. And you're so used, your body is so used to the text message that comes across your screen every day at 2 p.m. as a check in message. And every night that says good night. So you went a couple days without that. You went a week without that. And then you were like, you know what? I made a wrong decision. And so you'll come back and you'll say, I miss us and I want us back together. But that's not really because you want that what you had. It's not that. You just miss the familiarity. And so sometimes we can conflate that with comfortability. And so because I'm aware of that, I'm like, no, I think we're gonna keep this break and this distance is good because this distance is going to give us the clarity we both need to know what we want and need to do. And because I'm able to regulate my emotions and it's not my responsibility to know whether or not she can regulate hers, it's like, okay, so I'm going to take some time to get back in alignment with some things. And I'm going to revisit if this is something I really want is, and I want to return back to, does it align in my values? Okay. And then what is something that's going to change? Because this is going to be different. We're not going to jump back into this and then just pick up where we left off. There's something that has to change in order for this to be something that is consistent and that we build on. And so, yeah, I just think there's some differences in that. There's some differences in that, and we just have to be open to that. I mean, there have been plenty of times, being in my men's group and community, past connections and things that I've had, and they'll be like, "Man, would you be open if you know some some random play in random space, she reached out and was ready to," and I was like, "Man, honestly, I don't know." At the time of them asking me that, I was like, "I don't know." And then as I kept looking, I was like, "Man, it's definitely not going to be something that I jump right back into. If it is something that I'd be interested in, we're gonna take this like this is like okay, I'm reintroducing myself because the version of me that you left is not the version of me that you're running back into. Somebody needs to hear that. The version of me you left is not the version of me that you're walking back into. So now that I've got myself together in some other areas, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, from not just that moment, but everything else that compiled around it, I'm walking into this with a different thinking process, a different thought process. And so I can't guarantee that now that I got back into alignment that this makes sense because a lot of y'all spin the block on people and you end up hurt again, but it's because they never even aligned in your values in the first place. They most certainly didn't align with you when they took the last break from you and you decided to break no contact or circle back around. You did the healing work, they didn't. They're still where you last left them and you've moved on. You've elevated, you've grown. And now you're returning back to vomit. Now again, can a relationship work where y'all took a break and over some years y'all came back together? Sure, it's an exception to the rule, but guess what? It only works when both people did the healing work to come back together individually, not just for the relationship, not for the relationship, but for themselves. This person did the work, that person did the work, and then along the way, y'all rekindled. And the version of them that you're experiencing now is a different version of them than the last time you remember them. Vice versa from them to you. That's a different world right there. So that can work, but it's an exception to the rule. So for me, I would just be like, hey, well, I appreciate the message and I appreciate you reaching out. I'm not in a place right now where I'm going to just jump back into this relationship. There is a reason why we broke up. And even though this hurts, um, I think a time apart is necessary. So let's engage in that. I'm going to get myself together in alignment in some things. And I wish you well. I'm not even going to say anything like this is an open door for us to see what it can look like, because that also plays a role in the nervous system. Oh, this is an open loop. This is now coming back into comfortability with your nervous system. Oh, this is something that could still happen. An open door. I'm leaving the crack. I'm leaving the crack in the door open because there's hope. And yet it builds this false sense of anticipation that y'all are going to come back together. So guess what? You'll do all this work. You'll get yourself together. You'll go get your coaching, your counseling, your therapy, all the things contingent on this open door that this person somewhat promised you because they were too afraid to be honest and say no. They were too afraid to be honest and say, no, we're not coming back to this. They were too afraid to just say they didn't know. They decided to make a guarantee that they can't really guarantee. So you did all this work and then you come back to them and you're like, hey, so I've been doing this healing work. You'll be so proud of the journey I made. And I'm so excited for what this is going to be. Only for them to be like, yeah, I'm not interested. I'm actually dating someone else. And now all of a sudden, all the work you just did, you now think is a waste. Why? Because the open door that you left wasn't able to be available anymore. And that's when we know we're not healing for the right purposes, because you decided to do the healing work because this person said, well, if you do this, then we'll be back together. Not because it was the right thing to do, but because it was all contingent on you getting what you wanted in the end. That's not authentic healing. So distance provides clarity. And I'm going to stand by that and allow myself to move through that. And I hope that made sense. Cookbook, I hope that did. BCL says I didn't date in high school either. Just wasn't interested. Yeah, man. When I didn't date in high school, I had opportunities and I wanted to. I just wasn't allowed to. I was not the type of kid to sneak out, man. I was a tall kid, big kid at the time. fam, I am not sneaking out no window. I'm not sneaking out of no front door. I had the fear of God and my parents in me. I knew if I did something like that, it was up. And I also knew too, I think what also played a role in a lot of that, not just me not wanting to be disobedient to my parents. I just had to suck it up because I'm living under your roof. And like, if I can't date, I can't date. It is what it is. Um, but there was a time too, like just paying attention to all the relationships around me from friends that I had. Man, I really did not get the depiction that if I, from the candidates that were around me, they were really wanting to do a serious relationship. It was more of a short term, it was more of a lustful, let's just hook up type of deal. I saw a lot of the relationships around me from people that were just, they didn't even like each other. They just were horn dogs and just loved having sex. And because this is the person that you can have it with, y'all just going buck wild in the car, in locker rooms and all that kind of stuff. So it's just like y'all was kind of doing all that and that was what you were more interested in. And so for me, that gave me indication, nah, y'all probably don't really want nothing serious anyway. And so I kept it moving. I kept it moving. I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I did. I talked to so many clients who are still carrying different wounds from things that they experienced as early as high school with someone else that they're not even connected to anymore. And it's just a reminder that, you know, those are some really sensitive years. I broke up with my ex 3 months ago. Uh, our reason was only, wait, our RS, I don't know what RS, relationship. Is that what you're saying? Relationship was only 2 months long. Okay. He was my first boyfriend. He was perfect. I'm curious on what your question is. Um, I asked him for a reentry fee yesterday. He said today he will order it. Should I remind him a reentry fee? I don't know what we talking about there. 11. I want to date because I want to add to my happiness in my life. I want to share my happiness with her. Hey, that's a great reason. Great reason. What's happening? Ty, good to see you. Shout out to Love After Divorce in the chat. Y'all be sure to go follow him and give him some love. Um, so yeah, those are some just some thoughts there. Again, dating in 2026 is different, y'all. And I think because dating in 2026 is so different, we have to adjust with it. Okay. Um, we have to adjust with it. We have to adjust with it. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to now lower your standards and all the things, but because dating is different, hence economy statuses, um, it just changes who is considered and what you're looking for and what you have capacity for. Okay. If you ask me, I think it's healthy to be in a position where you're able to build with someone, but you can only build with someone who has a vision and who has a vision for their life. And it's even if it's in beginning stages, they have a vision that they see themselves moving in and that they see themselves creating. And they're in environments that are calling that out of them to cultivate and to furnish. Okay. Dating in your 20s can be challenging. Dating in your 30s, different challenges. Dating in your 40s, different challenges. Okay, there's different challenges in every, decade of dating. However, it doesn't have to be impossible because I think the best place that you can start with is asking yourself, why are you ready to date? Why are you wanting to date? What are your values? And then be honest about your ability to regulate yourself. Be honest about your ability to regulate your emotions because that is going to be key in your ability to date healthily and securely. I cannot control whether or not someone rejects me. I cannot control whether or not someone wants to, give me a shot or not. I can only control what I can control. And if I enjoy me some me, it don't matter who else don't enjoy me. I can lock in with that. And whether you're at home, you're in college, you're still living with the parents, maybe you're on a budget, you don't live with the parents, but man, bills are tight. Let that be an opportunity for you to investigate in what creativity you can line up with to have the date you want, to experience the relationships romantically that you want to build. That's an invitation to creativity. Something I've had to learn to reframe over the years, and I still practice it to this day. It's an invitation to creativity. You may not have it all, you may not be able to do it all, you may not be able to go everywhere, And what is it that you have that you can be creative with? There's a lot of things that are free that you can use, a lot of things that fit your budget that you can purchase that actually shows up. And believe it or not, a lot of women, like the right woman for you, especially with where you are and what you're trying to build, fellas, she's gonna want to, and she's gonna want to build with you, and she's gonna be okay with whatever process. Well, of course, with intentionality, she's gonna be okay with the process of you building. So if you run into someone, fellas is the same way. But if you really want to, if you run into somebody who's just not ready for all that, you know, that just means that's not the one that you need to date right now. That's not somebody you need to engage in right now. And maybe this just means this is not a relationship that aligns. So I'm gonna keep it moving. I'm gonna keep it moving. Okay, you got to date in your class, date on your level, date on your level. That's why dating in 2026 is different and new. There's a lot of people who are frustrated at dating, not because dating is as bad as they say it is, but because they're not dating on their level. You're not honest. You're not dating on your level emotionally. You're not dating on your level spiritually. You're not dating on your level physically. You're not dating on your level financially. You're not dating on your level in any kind of direction. You're not. And dating on your level has less to do with whether or not they are doing the same things as you, have the same money as you, have the same resources as you. It's also maybe you run into somebody who doesn't, but do you have the capacity to support them as they're coming up? And do they have qualities in other areas that are allowing you to create balance between what they have and what they don't? Maybe they don't have the finances, but this person has the mental, emotional, and spiritual maturity and capacity that you have yet to find from someone that you've been dating that has the money, has the ability to take you trips, has the ability to fly you out, has it. So it's just like you're not going to get everything with everybody, but you might want to choose the values you're able to build with at a longevity rate. Because ain't nothing worse than trying to teach an adult how to have some emotional capacity to handle the word no, but they got the money to take you trips and buy you things. That's gotta be frustrating. Fellas, it ain't nothing it's gotta be frustrating. She looked good. She got the body of a Coke bottle. She on top of the fitness game and everything. But every moment of self-awareness comes off to her as an attack. Can't communicate emotions, can't communicate how she feels. No shot. No shot. No shot. So you got to make the decision on what makes sense for you. But this is times are different. But that doesn't mean the values have changed, the principles have changed, the foundation has to change. It just means we need to be able to engage in this a little bit differently. What's up, Harper? Good to see you. Welcome in. So I'm done ranting. That's my time for today. Seems like there's no more questions. Um, there was a comment earlier I wanted to get to. I don't know, where is he at? Oh, Zoe says, "Help me! I can't live without her presence." Yeah, man. My biggest thing, if you just send me a message with Secure, I can definitely get you the help you need. I can definitely get you the help you need in order to move forward. All right. So just DM me Secure, and we can get things going. And you'll get some automated messages to get you what you need. And I'm excited to work with you. Because a lot of times, again, you mentioned things like I can't live without her presence. Again, we got to move with curiosity. Why? What is that revealing in me? What about her presence made me feel better or feel more whole about myself? What stories did I create? What stories did I tell myself? Because it really ultimately starts there. Because anybody that you're saying now, again, I think it's an interesting conversation. I think it's very noble when people say, this person is my other half, or this person, you might hear words like, oh, yeah, you complete me. I think that's crazy. I really do. Do you think that people can reflect us? Yeah, absolutely, I do. Intentionally or unintentionally, right? So the behaviors that other people commit that we can't control oftentimes can expose in us what we are uncomfortable with about ourselves. That doesn't necessarily mean every action and every behavior does this. So we do have to be careful with that because, I sit in front of clients and people who have just experienced some really, really challenging things. And, I don't think you want to necessarily say someone being, I'm trying to use words that are safe and censored, but, experiencing some form of sexual assaults and all that kind of stuff. Like yeah, nah, I don't necessarily think you want to necessarily move with that direction. However, I'll say both and. There's a lot of experiences that we have had in our lives that are serving as mirrors to what we're operating in, what we're lacking in, and the struggles that we deal with internally. And especially when it comes to breakups and relationships, y'all, relationships are mirrors. It's I think as I continue to grow and build more and more relationships, this is going to become not just more apparent, but depth is going to be created more and more out of it. But I tell you, the relationships that I've had in my life up to this point, whether they've made it, whether they failed, whether that I didn't get what I wanted, like it was all a mirror to some extent. And it wasn't even because this person was trying their hardest to expose me. It was just behaviors and decisions that they were making that best suited them that I found a way to be most impacted by. And when I started being curious about that, it really unlocked a lot for me, and this is exactly what I explained in one of my cornerstone videos that really just explains everything that we're coming from within this perspective of security. Because everybody talks about security as if it's just like it's something you arrive to, or, you know, security is just something that you pray from the heavens to have. And it's like, no, that security is a rhythm. And it's a rhythm that's created that at first, when we start taking, inventory on what things outside of us are exposing in us. And instead of trying to live a life where we're controlling all aspects externally, you actually can live a more healthy, peaceful life when you stop trying to control what you can't control. And you only control what you can control. And what can I control? The meaning I give to experiences, the behaviors I commit. I can't control my emotions. I can't control all these things. And I think that's kind of where everything falls into play. And so that's what we have to be aware of. So absolutely, people can reflect us. People can reflect us. And the longer we stay mad at what they're reflecting, the more that we'll blame other people instead of saying, man, what do I need to let go of? What do I need to address? What do I have to let go? Because again, you see this in early stages of marriages too. Couples will get into arguments over the smallest of things, and it's repetitive. It's because, well, we're trying to figure this thing out. It's new. Marriage is new. Being connected in covenant is new. And now that we're around each other so regularly, and this is, a more serious relationship, we're seeing other things about us, about ourselves through each other that we don't like. And so what's easier is to make it about you. You need to change. You need to stop doing this, and you need to start treating me this way. Now, barring obviously any kind of abusive, neglectful behavior, what we're dealing with, or I should say abusive behavior, what we're often dealing with is, I just don't like what this person is revealing in me. And it's causing me to have to slow down and reflect on what areas did I give permission to that I need to start correcting. This is literally the perspective I think that Paul, in one way or another, may be speaking to when he's saying, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church so much so that he gave his life for her. Now, I'm not trying to connect the dots and say, well, Jesus was looking at the church and saying, what's wrong with me? No. What I'm saying is, in order to put yourself in a position to die for your bride, right? Something that Adam didn't do that Jesus does for the church. There is a lot of inner death that has to occur. So when I look at Jesus dying for the bride, Jesus did this literally. But I think what Paul is calling us to do is to, as leaders of our marriages, homes as men, but also, again, it's not a one sided thing. Ladies got to die to some things too. Everybody's got to die. A marriage is a consistent death. There's a reason why when you get to marry each other and marrying the person that you love, y'all stand in front of an altar. An altar is a reflection of a sacrifice. Old Testament through and through. It gets messy, nasty, downright dirty. So when we say things like, I'm getting married for happiness, I'm marrying this person because I love them, I think we need to dig into that, because I'm not so certain you understand fully what you're walking into, if that's your response as to why you're marrying somebody. And so, yeah, I think what Paul can really be assuming there is like, yo, there's a lot of death involved in allowing this relationship and marriage to work. And sometimes people conflate this. Sometimes death does mean letting things go that aren't as serious and important. And sometimes death also looks like we got to engage in this in a different way so we can make this work. Death doesn't mean just go mute and silent and be passive and just let this person do what they want to do, even though it's hurting me. Because if I never speak up and I'm passive about it, not only am I conditioning this person to keep treating me this way, but I'm saying it's okay. So when I have blowups, it looks like it's random, out of the place, out of the blue, when in reality, this stuff has been building on me for months and years. And I just didn't have the words to communicate what I was feeling. And I just decided to take it all out on you or someone else in the moment. And holding it in isn't healthy, just like letting it all out in those directions isn't healthy. But we got to find a happy medium. And it starts with what? Dying to this passive approach and speaking up and learning how to talk to each other in a way that is healthy and reflective and loving and receptive of each other. Without dismissing feelings, burying them, minimize them, or telling somebody that they're tripping. I'm sorry I'm sorry you feel that way. That's not an apology. You know? Telling somebody when they're talking about how they feel behind the behaviors you did, and you're constantly meeting them with saying feelings aren't facts. Or you're constantly telling them that that's not what you intended, so get over it. This is just who I am. You better take it or leave it. That's one of the quickest ways to get you divorced and up out of here. That's crazy. Wild. Asinine. Disgusting. Trifling. Dysfunctional. I don't know how many other words I got. So, anyway, that's my rant for the day. I appreciate y'all a ton for tuning in to this live. Again, I do have a special right now as we're live. I haven't said it much throughout the stream, but hey, if you buy a session, you get one free. Okay, so go ahead. For those of you who are on Instagram, TikTok, be sure to go to the top of my page on my TikTok. All right, click that link. Click book one-on-one call. Book your session. And when you book one session, you'll get another one free on the house, on me. Okay. And I'm excited to work with you and see you there. Also, be sure to get the relational diagnostic. Okay. That is also on that link tree, the second link that you'll click. Okay. So click that. Be sure to do that, because that is the first step to reveal certain things that you are needing to see to get your relationships back on track through this relational diagnostic from a place of honesty in the circle of truth. When you do that, you also click book a qualification call. So you'll get a free qualification call if you qualify after answering those questions. So be sure to do that. New content coming soon. We're going back live tomorrow for the last day of the week, 1 p.m. Central Time. So be sure to be here. You never know the type of reward and gift you might get. All right. And I'm excited to connect with you guys and build with you from there. All right. If you can't do any of that, be sure to follow for more. YouTube, subscribe, comment. Would love to see you here in our lives in the future. More videos and stuff coming soon. I'm pretty sure I just released the next long form video on my YouTube, centered on dating, some of the conversation that we're having here. Okay, so be sure to check that out. And I appreciate you guys a ton. As always, until our next conversation, be easy and be breezy. Peace. Hey, take it easy.